Hello, boys and girls.
Hello, all.
Greetings to you. How you all doing? The bounce
I'm
is
so
hot
tired.
today. The bounce is exhausted.
I'm so tired.
Let me
I don't
know
even
why.
know why.
The bounce.
I'm so tired.
I know why. The bounce is exhausted. And the bounce has a guest today.
We do.
All the way from London. via a long journey to here. So you can introduce yourself.
So my name is Pelumi Nubi. Born in Lagos, grew up in London, and love to travel. So
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell them what you did recently?
Yeah.
In case they're blind and they've not seen.
So I just
Anything
finished
going on?
being the first female to solo drive from London to Lagos using my Peugeot 107. I feel
The
that
car
fact
has
is
a
very
name.
small. It does. It's called Lumi. Full name Oluwa Luminate. We call that Lumi.
Love that. Love that.
You got back. You arrived in Lagos when?
On the 7th,
On the
Sunday.
7th.
Mhm.
So how have you spent the last 5
5 days.
Yeah.
Maybe they feel like a month. Just back-to-back media. A lot of interviews, a lot of conversation, potential partnership, all of that stuff. So yeah, it's been a
Nice. I like your
business lifestyle.
You being your bag. That's the best. That's the best.
Important.
Don't let them whine you. So I mean, if we take it back to the beginning, I remember when I saw this, I just thought, okay. So why?
What did you think first?
No, genuinely,
That's what I mean. Like literally,
someone
when
was
I
like,
saw
do you know
that
this
you
Pelumi baby
were, when I
is
saw that, like,
driving?
someone is driving, I just thought, okay, like, I'm always for the girls. I love that.
Yeah.
But I was like, me now, if you ask me to drive to Ikeja, I can't do it. So I was like,
Why?
to drive all the way, what was like the motivation for you?
To be honest, I love to travel. You know, I've visited over 80 plus countries. So adventure is always something I enjoy doing. Each time I visited Lagos, it was always just a flight away, 6 hours flight. But I was curious, about the other West African countries and stuff. And I did do like a drive across Namibia.
Okay.
2022, solo drive, 4,000 kilometers. And it was just awesome. Like I had a blast. So I was like, okay, we can do this on a bigger scale. And the bigger scale looked like coming from
Lagos. Do you know that I wasn't even aware you could drive?
A lot of people couldn't.
I wasn't like, I swear, I thought you might need field geography with the map.
Yeah.
So I swear there's an ocean.
Plenty, 2 oceans, big ones. So there's the English Channel one, just put the car on the ferry.
Yeah.
So it's an hour and a half, nothing too big
And that
deal.
takes you from where to where?
So the first one is from Dover to Calais, so from UK to France. And then when you get to Spain, you take another one from Spain into Morocco.
So you drove from France to Spain?
Yeah, true.
And then you took another ferry
from Spain, crossed into Morocco.
Okay.
And then just kept going to
you just
downwards.
keep
How long
down.
was the Spain to Morocco ferry? 1.5
hours too as well.
Okay.
So very short body of water.
France to Spain is a lovely drive.
It is actually.
That.
It really is nice.
I stayed in Biarritz.
Were you passenger princess then? You didn't do the driving yourself?
Of course I was a passenger princess.
It was a nice drive. Like, did you do it?
From the back. Excuse me. Where are we?
Are we there yet?
No, so we went to some festival on the border where they wear white and red.
Okay. Interesting.
Like they tie with the bulls and all that. I was like, this is very fetish. Very occult. Everybody's tying red.
With white.
Do you get? But yeah, so like how long did it take you in total?
So I left home 24th of January, 2024. So over 2 months.
Yeah.
More than 2 months on the road.
That's crazy.
Oh my, do you know, I don't know why I thought it was shorter.
It could have been shorter if I was just driving. So the drive could have been it could have been 2-3 weeks and I'll be here. But I didn't just want it to be a drive. Like that's boring for me. So I was like, okay, I want to explore these places, try tourism, food, culture.
Okay, so it was like the full experience.
It was a full experience.
Oh, interesting. Do you know, I generally didn't want to have too much information, so I wouldn't ask you too many things. So I went out of my way not to like check and see anything,
kind of like what's going on.
What happened, so that I would be a bit more curious.
Yes, makes sense.
Okay, so you started off. Did you just when you said okay, you're going to travel for 2 months? Financially, what was the plan? Like, because I think that's something everybody would.
That's cool.
Everyone is just like, okay, cool.
It's a very
lovely. Do you know what I love? I love when people say, I want to travel the world. I say, okay. With which money? What are you talking about?
Because I want to know like what the planning is. Because again, with a lot of these things, we're very Nigerian.
Yes.
And very specifically Yoruba. And Yoruba people do this thing where, what's there?
What's there? You just go now.
Like, what's there? Shebi Pelumi did it. What's there? Shebi Hilda did it. It's not to cook. What's there? Like, people will just, what's there? Is it not?
I promise you, as we speak now, someone in Ekiti State, somebody in Ekiti State is getting ready to drive to London. I promise.
1 million
That's all they know there.
1,000,000%.
Once someone does something, Ekiti people, they must.
Yeah. And I wanted to ask just generally, like, the planning that goes into that. Because I think with undertaking any big thing, like a friend of ours did a sabbatical for a year. And she was telling me she came to visit. She's now gone back to work. But she was telling me she came to my house, like towards the end of her sabbatical. She came to Nigeria and then went back to Canada. And she was like, oh, you know something that's really shocked her? How many people have questions about taking a sabbatical?
I was like, girl.
Alma, you left work for a year. And she didn't just like leave work and she traveled.
She lived. It wasn't like a suffering. She was living.
She was having a fantastic time. And everyone is going to have questions because that takes a lot of planning.
Of course.
But obviously, like the storytelling part is a lot more fun to just start off with. I drove from London. Not like I spent a year thinking about it, but I want to ask.
And then I planned, and so I'm curious about the planning
process.
The planning was intense. You know, these kind of expeditions, if we want to call it that,
it
takes a team. You know, normally you are there with a chef, a medic, a logistic person. Like you are is a full worker and having to juggle that. So detailed planning had to have occurred leaving home.
So what was that? What did you think about?
So September 2022 was when I said, okay, so it took about a year plus to actually plan it.
Sure.
And it wasn't every day I was thinking about it.
Sure. Just in general,
trying to put into place. So the first thing is definitely I'm a big believer of, if you want to do something, find people that have done something similar.
Yeah.
You know, so speaking to those people, I feel like they're the expert. They'll tell you what routes, what this and that. So literally getting them on Zoom.
Have people done the same drive?
So Mr. Kunle is also in Nigeria. He did a bike ride back in 2022. It's one of those people because I was just like, okay, as a woman,
I remember that. There was someone, but I don't remember where it came from. I just remember somebody who was driving somewhere.
So there's other people that have even done, not necessarily the same route, but at least they've done West Africa tour or they've done, London to Morocco or something like that. Just anyone that's done any of the routes, any of the journey. I literally YouTube, I was watching everyone's vlog. I was literally looking for Europe to Africa travel, like anything with that team. So reading forums, reading Facebook posts, like it literally was intense research.
Young that had to
forum, yeah.
My dad would be very happy to hear that word. Forum.
No, I think because of the places I was going to Mauritania. There's no blog post on Mauritania. Use a forum, like you have to go down that, that's called the dark web, but rabbit hole, like literally looking for people that like, done in the past or are just not that, they're not TikTok basically. These people that are doing this kind of trip. So you will find them on TikTok.
So the way you said it now, I feel like TikTok is going to take offense. And
why?
They're going to start being like, where are the travelers? Because like they
no,
have
but
the
did you not hear the last person, Mr. Kule? Does that sound like somebody that's on TikTok?
That man is not. That guy, that sounds like that's like someone that uses WhatsApp to say, we are now, and his camera will be here.
You have to follow the journey on his WhatsApp status.
Yes. That's so interesting. So, when you decided to, did you take a leave from work? How did you
Sorry, before we get there, just a very quick question as Yoruba babes. Your mom, Ellen, your parents, your family, what did they say? Because all that's in my head now is yanning.
No, it's not happening.
I'm driving to London.
Do you know, let me tell you something.
No, I'm just imagining between my mom, my grandma, my auntie.
Forget London.
How that conversation
people will just be calling me.
Forget London. I mean, traveling within. I can't travel by road within West Africa.
Nigeria.
This is the first time that my parents are going to find out that I took a road trip from Enugu to Abuja. They didn't know. They heard we were traveling and we flew. So we flew to multiple places, but then we couldn't get a flight from Enugu to Abuja. I think the flights were all sold out, something crazy. And then we had to charter. And all I kept thinking on the road was, okay, because there's just stretches where genuinely
there's nothing.
I don't know how to tell you guys, there are hours and hours
in
the bush. You're just hoping for the best. And then you just see like one house somewhere and then you guys keep going. And I remember I do this thing when I'm very anxious, I force my body into rest. I don't want to see the road. I don't want my mind to start going crazy. So I said, let me sleep. And at one point I woke up and the driver was still driving. And I told him that, is this a dangerous stretch? He goes, it depends. I said, okay.
Depends on.
I said, okay. It depends on what. Said the day. The day. This season of I Said What I Said is brought to you by AfriChange. AfriChange is a fantastic platform you can use to send and receive money from Canada, Nigeria, and to tons of countries, over 50 countries if I believe. Yes. But they have something special for our people in the UK.
Very, very special. So at the end of the month, AfriChange is launching their UK corridor, which means that you can send money from the UK to about 50 countries, and you can also receive money in the UK from these countries.
Yay.
And if you go to africhange.co.uk and you sign up to their waitlist, you can get a few perks. You'll be one of the first people to have access to the UK corridor, and you also get invited to the parties that they're having to launch them in different cities across the UK. We love a good bash.
Do you know what else we love? We love a discount over here. So if you use the discount code ISWIS, you get a discount when you send your money. I mean, who doesn't want...
It's just brilliant.
Who doesn't want...
You get a discount on your
such things.
transfer.
This is why we love AfriChange, because AfriChange loves us.
That's what we do.
All right, guys. Enjoy the episode. Okay, I mean, no nonsense. Okay, so let's go with baby sister. Who says, hi, Jolla and FK. How are you guys? I love your podcast and I see you as my bestie. Okay, hey, bestie. Hey. She says, okay, so my sister's boyfriend is having issues with his family and she would like to know if she should continue with him or not. Actually, I hope she doesn't see this. She's really confused and I really don't know how to advise her, but I want to hear people's opinions. Her boyfriend's family is just not nice. They dupe him to get money and lie about many things. They go to the extent of faking being sick or faking getting arrested just to get money out of him. But it's not like he's rich. He's doing well for himself and he's extremely young. And it's also not like he doesn't send them money. He sends money, but for some reason, they have this attitude of trying to get more from him and steal. It's really somehow. Today, they will lie about being on admission. Tomorrow, it's being arrested. Next tomorrow, borrowing outright and just not paying back. And he'll be the one to pay the debt. His brother will do one thing, another cousin will do another thing. Right now for her, she feels like life is hard enough already and she doesn't want to continue with that kind of family. But he's a really, really nice guy and we must consider that this is his family, but she's just not comfortable. Okay. His family is based in Lagos while they are in Port Harcourt. So his mom's family sold their house and shared the money. She brought the person and sold the house, but ate her own share and her elder brothers without telling him. Her son, my sister's boyfriend, sells cars. So they lied to him that someone gave his dad money to buy a car and his dad chopped the money. And they now can't pay the person back. Only for him to find out that it was a house they sold and have eaten the money. But they expect him to pay back the debts for what they did. Please consider that he pays their rent and all the bills, but they are still not satisfied. So it's just constantly one thing or another. It never ends with the family considering that he has his own expectations and that they are getting married. She doesn't know if she should accept. So for context, when they come up with a lie, his mom will call him to cry and convince him that it's true, only to find out they were all in cahoots. What do you guys suggest? Okay. Let's start with our guest.
Yeah, why don't you go
What do you think?
Does everyone does he know this, that this is what his family are doing?
His girlfriend is not going to know if he doesn't.
Yeah. His girlfriend's sister is
his only sister. His only girlfriend's sister knows.
No, so let me explain. Like, if something is happening with your family, I can't know unless you tell me.
Yeah.
Because I have no link to the family.
So he definitely knows.
Except it's you. So he's aware. But he just can't seem
he can't seem to take himself out.
I guess she's asking what her sister should do.
Yeah.
Like if she should leave him or not.
That one's hard though.
I can't lie. Sometimes.
Have you seen that gif of the guy that disappears?
Let me not lie.
Is that what you're saying?
If it was, look, I want to be honest. I have a sister. If it was my sister, I'd have been like, so like, which day should we pack your things? I'm not lying. I'm just saying, I'm not considering the guy now. If it's my sister,
you're just protecting your sister.
As quickly as possible.
Fair enough.
We're balling out of there. And no discredit to him. He might be the loveliest guy in the world. But you see, if you marry into this current problem, two of you will be there.
Be inside of it.
No, she's not.
So now the mom will start calling.
No. You know why it's going to be worse? Yeah. So these...
Now they have to income.
His situation is not unique at all. at all. That's what first of all makes this really, really sad. Being taken advantage of by your family.
Yes.
People, it happens to people.
And because people have that high loyalty to their family, it's almost like it's my responsibility.
And he's the one. So there's always a family.
You need to put some boundaries in place.
In every family that has this dynamic, I noticed that it feels like there's just this one person.
That's the breadwinner.
But what it is that they know that it's not just about being the breadwinner. It's that they understand fundamentally your flaw in that sense of like
twist it
your loyalty and your fear of, if I don't do this,
you'll rock the boat. You want to please them.
And you don't want your family to get into big trouble. You don't want them arrested. You don't want them in trouble. Why this is actually a problem is that if your sister marries him and they build their family unit, it is not a joyful thing for them, because what's happening is that unit is taken away
from them. So there's fights.
So you and that family are now the enemy. His actual family unit is automatically the enemy. Your children's school fees are a negative expense as far as they're concerned. Your holiday, your peace of mind,
everything.
The fact that you say you don't want people to come and just stay in the house for an extended period of time. Oh, why are we doing so? Do you know what is crazy? Your mother sold her house with her brother. No, it's her own share. It's her elder brother's share.
And now you have to pay him back.
I'm sorry to sound crazy. Let me explain something to you based on my own understanding of family. There is no world in which my mom deals with an inheritance that has nothing to do with me and is coming back to meet me. Do you understand? I had no part
of it. I'm not one of your siblings.
I'm not one of your siblings. And do you understand? It's not as if you gave me the money from this thing, right? This dishonesty.
But you see,
nothing
to be honest, she took her brother's money because she knew that
someone is around to pay it off.
See, it's cruel. And the thing is, on one end, I'm like, okay, he needs support and everything. But the problem is, for the sister, that's not her fight. And honestly, until he is ready,
he has to be the one to fight her. No one can fight that battle.
Do you know, I have very few rules about dating. Like, I'm very easygoing. I've never really had a type. The one thing that is consistent for me is I generally like the person in the family that everybody, quite frankly, tiptoes a little bit around. I like the hair. You know, the one that, you know, he has warned everybody, don't disturb him too much. Don't talk to him too much like this. Not because I really enjoy people that are kind, but firm. There has to be firm. You cannot be seen
just
as
establishing
a
boundaries, really.
How can your whole family think of you as the mumu in the family?
Basically, yeah.
Do you know what it is for your mom to steal? She stole. She stole from her brother.
I called you to pay.
I made up a story. Not even being honest about the situation.
Do you know how crazy it is for my cousins?
That's crazy.
To be able to be in cahoots with my mother to rip me off.
It's crazy.
Do you know how insane that is?
Anyway, the truth is that if it's my sister, I'm not going to consider like how he feels. I'm going to get her out of there.
Yeah.
Quickly.
I think that's
because I can't lie. I'll do the same. We have to ball out. I'm so sorry. He will be a lovely guy, I'm sure. But he doesn't have any boundaries. And like, I don't want you to be involved in that.
So far, neither does she.
No.
Because if
you can see clearly. There's nothing that has told him that I'm losing this babe based on, do you understand? You know, like how there's some things, when you're grown, your relationship dynamics change. You see, there's a way you learn about family dynamics that you want to be a part, that by remaining there, you are acquiescing to this being part of our madness. We are all part of it. That first time he came and told you that he found out that his cousin that they said they arrested, it was a scam. And then he said, oh my God, baby, I'm so sorry. He just clocked out, okay. Wow, the same wavelength. If you had said, so when are they rearresting him to collect your money? Fact.
Then he now quickly realizes that
it's not the same.
This girl is not the kind of babe that.
Yeah.
Do you understand? So the next time he's coming to say, it's like my mom wants to start this thing again. For
but even on the other side, I cannot be the one constantly tensioning you. Why don't you also have sense?
Yes, what I'm saying is that, but she's not. She's not now. So maybe she feels like he's not her fight. But we have moved to the part like talking about people want to get married. I think you need to tell your sister that.
I think she needs to tell her sister that I'm sorry. It's not like he's the one that has sorted this out. Yes. And so far as we're looking at the current situation, he also says that she cannot marry him.
And she'll be the evil one. That's the problem.
A witch.
She's a witch.
She's going to be a witch. Since she came,
he has stopped giving us money.
She's going to be a witch.
In fact, whenever anything happens now, he just washes her from family. Once he met her, no. So, okay, you can't win.
For sure, you can't win.
So, but like Fake said, what do your family say?
What do your family say?
To be honest, again, this is the first trip I've done that a lot of people got a lot of attention and got people involved. But Pelumi has been doing a lot of crazy things in the past. So I think it's sometimes coming to them with a track record of, I think we had more of a debate of when I was trying to do the road trip from Lagos to Ghana. That was so I've done stuff like that. So Lagos to Ghana, I've done the Namibia road trip. I said I've done London to Lake Como. So they've seen back track record that
and that's a sweet one. That one I can do.
That was a nice one. So yeah, just having those track record. But I think just the way I've been brought up is they're very accepting of that kind of that's how they are.
To talk about that, just a little segue. So I'm very fascinated by how people who do like just slightly different things are like brought up. So we've had Berna's mom on the podcast, and one thing that's very, very clear is that she brought her children up quite differently from most people. It's actually quite clear, and when you see them interact, because we know them, when you see them interact, it's very obvious that there wasn't like a script per se in telling your children what their capabilities are, what they can and cannot do in a sense, and like you actually kind of see what that does to a person's psyche. Because if your default is, I can do something first, as opposed to, I shouldn't do something, the attitude you bring to life is very, very different. Yes. If your understanding is about your capacity as opposed to your limitations, every single time, just the way you behave is different. And it even shows in secondary school. If you think about the kids who, I'm not the troublesome ones, if you think about the ones who had a more positive attitude towards, I don't know, anything from sports to learning something new.
They just were jumping and
they were the people who are more keen to try stuff. By the time you talk to them a little bit, you get the sense that at home there was just a lot of, it's better for you to like try something as opposed to
you're not allowed to.
Your first awareness is of what is potentially exciting as opposed to what is potentially dangerous or difficult. And I find that just really, really interesting. So I
also like people who their parents just allow them do things. Try stuff. Like people will sign up for things and their parents are like, okay, now like you can go. All these things.
Or they're the ones even more likely to encourage. So I actually thought of that. I was like, I genuinely thought, is she mixed? Is she? No, it's true. Just
I
because
did the genetic test, I was like, maybe I'm a bit,
No, because
99% Nigerian.
No, because generally, I'm not even trying to be funny. We are very like, and I think it's just because of the way the country is. Like we've become culturally very risk averse.
Yeah,
everybody wants to do the done thing, the safe thing.
Facts.
I'm sure. I'm sure there are a few uncles or aunties that were like,
of course.
You know what would be nice if she does live stream throughout that 6 hour from London. I don't think anybody has done that before. Why don't we start with live stream from London to Lagos? Let her stream herself in the plane. That would be a unique one. As opposed to driving. No, genuinely, because imagine coming from a family where constantly everybody just telling you they kidnap. On the road this happens.
So guys,
even if you're gingered,
so many things.
It will diminish.
It will just diminish, and then you start saying, do you know what? Maybe I should just fly. And then we'll do
you just say you just fly part of the way. Like maybe when you get to Morocco, you won't do the Africa like all these things. So I'm just super curious about if there was any challenges or if your family was just
they're very
I love that.
They have really discipline. Nice. It's very different from what you can't or cannot do. It's two different things. So we are kind of like in check in line, but not in our goals or in our visions. Very much.
This reminds me of something. I thought it was a bit of a whack interview, but I saw something recently and I liked something that the guy said. He said he noticed that with Nigerian upbringing, a lot of Nigerian parents punish children not for what is wrong, but for what they personally don't like.
So you might do something.
What you did is not wrong. But your parents don't like it.
I don't want you to do that.
I personally don't like it. And so what happens is that But the parents don't frame it as, I don't like what you did. They frame it as fundamentally, you've done a bad thing. And for me, an extension of that is that you find the way Nigerians debate very minute deviations of choice. So for instance, someone like Feyikemi might say, okay, yes, let me give you an example. Feyikemi dislikes when, don't put your spoon in your, you can't just, how people just come and put their fork in your food. She doesn't like it at all. It's like a personal preference thing. I find that when she says that thing, generally people just like, why?
people
like,
are
just a
always
thing about
so upset. Like, not upset, just like
defensive about it.
It becomes like a
just
debate.
on a fundamental basis, you just want to. And the thing is, there is no reason.
There's no reason. She just doesn't like it.
It's just,
but we see it as a judgment of, okay, so us that do it.
Yeah, like how we
because we are brought up to almost feel like those differences are like, because your parents didn't like this thing. So for instance, there are just small things. Instead of your parents to say, I don't like when you do this, they'll say, this thing is bad.
Do you know what's so funny?
What are you talking about?
I promise you, like 5 times out of 10 when I say that thing, someone like an adult will say, what of your husband? And I'm like, but why would I marry somebody who cannot respect basic boundaries?
Facts.
Around food, they're like, damn it, I'm not ready for marriage. They say because of spoon.
No, genuinely, they mean it to. They feel sorry for you.
They mean it to.
They feel sorry for you.
One of my aunties always warning me that this thing that you're doing, it can't work.
Just about the spoon thing or something.
She was like, it can't work. You get married, it will cause frustration. And I was like, because I tell the man not to put his fork inside my plate.
Yeah.
That's so crazy.
No, but it's because
they're so worried. So it's all these small
things, but it's just I really am a bit more curious to like what that does, like upbringing.
Yeah,
we talk about it.
So important.
It's really, really important.
I promise you, when I saw it was one of the first things I thought about because of my own family.
But you said you don't have a clear idea of how much you spent on like petrol and fuel.
I think the total cost of the trip was in the high ends of £20,000
of the trip.
Oh my God! I thought it would be more.
Probably more. But remember, I was camping in my car.
Sure, you were saving on accommodation.
I was being quiet. But if someone's going to plan this, someone's like, oh, I want to do this, you probably need more.
Okay, do you think?
50,000.
So tell me, how did you plan how did you think about, obviously you're driving through so many places. And so your trip could have even taken longer if you literally...
Could be a year. Could be
I mean, I'm just thinking, even between, on either half, Morocco to Nigeria or London to Morocco, you could have stopped in legitimately 30 different places. So how did you now like pick, okay, this is where I want to see it? And what kind of things were you doing like in
each of the
stops?
places?
Yeah.
So I had like a semi-hard end, if that means like I had to wrap it up because of my mom's 60th, which I ended up missing. We had like a whole family cruise booked because of the accidents that got missed. But yeah, so in terms of where to stop, it was basically based on the duration. Some places like Europe and Morocco I've been before, so
you didn't
I kind of went quite quickly through them, and other places I slowed down a bit. And it's just kind of like once I've tasted local food and I've done a few sites and I've met one or two locals, I've conversed. That's kind of what I love about travel. So it was just, there was no specificity. Sometimes I wish I had more time in places, some which I'm like, okay, it's time to move on. So it really was very varied in terms of how I was traveling and what I got to do. But yeah.
Another thing, right, about the choice to go alone. Did you ever consider, like, obviously you mentioned now that you've done solo trips before, driving as well. But did you ever consider maybe doing a group trip instead of a solo?
I love my solo trips. I do host group trips. I have a company for that plans group trip for people. But in terms of, me traveling, it's very much solo. I couldn't convince anyone to go for 3 months. Like, I was like,
okay, another angle,
do you want to join me for 3 months? They're like, good for you. We'll cheer you on from the sideline. So yeah, it was more of that. But yeah, if nobody was going to come, I was going to do it myself anyways. But it was that.
And then the other thing on this is driving in different countries, because everybody has different... is your car left side?
It's on the right. It's like UK.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So even that. So driving in different countries, different sides of the road, how did you hack that? Because people, like, as you come from Europe, it starts to change.
Straight away. I think it's only the UK we drive on that side. So I live in Dubai as well, so we drive on the other side as well. So already practicing both sides as well. When I go to different places, I do car rental. So I think the brain, you might do a little oops, like, when you're turning into road or something, your brain might switch.
But like fundamentally,
if you're following someone in front, which was I tried to do for the first few times, have at least a car in front of me, and your brain just kind of wires that, okay, I need to be on this side of the road. But it's very quick switch, at least for me. Some people find it difficult, but for me, I've been able to use both sides of the road.
When you were, what were some, like, because I know like you had a lot of wonderful experiences, but there were also times that you might have just be like, what's going on here? And I wanted to ask, like, what were the things that maybe you didn't necessarily think about or pay as much attention to that became more important as you were growing?
Data. internet.
You know, I was thinking that how are you communicating? Obviously, you have data internet, but like different countries have different
countries. The cost of it as well, the connectivity. Like because I was heavy on social media as well, so it was just uploading files and video. I'm just like, I just put 10 gig. What's going on? Like so things sometimes places like in the Gambia, it's like. You literally, as you're loading up, it's finished. So I don't know what's going on there. So yeah, that was something that was a bit different. Just the perception of, how women are treated in certain places were very interesting. It was very much, yeah, it was very much, where's your husband?
Really?
So, yeah.
Like what sort of places?
Almost most of West Africa. Like there was just very much. Most of West Africa.
I thought you meant other people
no,
West Africa to have sex. Okay, if it's our own people. Oh, normal. No, I even thought you meant like, France. Places that would have assumed
have done that
they
No. And not those other places, they were more like curious, like you're really doing this in this small car. I think that was really something that shocked people, like the size of the car, the choice of the car.
Yeah.
But
was the car deliberate that you chose? Or?
It was my car. So I've had the car for about 5 years.
Just your car.
It was just my car. So it was kind of like that or buy a new car. And I was like, I don't want to add any more cost to this trip. I've had this car. I know if it's acting funny or sounding funny. So I'm like, let me just use it on this car. But yeah.
Okay. And so this thing you said about like the perception of women and traveling from country to country. I wanted to ask, so this is about travel. We talk about travel in the most glamorous form a lot of the time. Like you're traveling for a holiday and it's all about rest. So like your budget is a bit more than you would normally spend on any other thing. And your experiences generally are very... So if you're traveling not by road, if you're traveling by air across different countries, you meet customs in a very different way. If you're traveling by road and water, different. It's extremely different, particularly in West Africa. And I wanted to ask you, like, because when we talk about travel, the idea is sometimes like the journey is not as important as what happens when you get there. Don't worry, like so people tend to gloss over all that part. No, you just don't worry when you get there. These are all the things to do. But I want us to talk specifically about some of these things because it's not a sexy conversation. It's not fun. It's also very like, oh, let's keep it in-house. You don't want to keep with the wrong perception, blah, 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 racism, one thing, two thing. But I think it's really important to talk about just sort of like what ends up being an unnecessary indignity a lot of times when you're traveling, which is how you're treated by, in essence, the first representations you get of a country.
Yeah.
So you get to, and I'm saying this because I've also been to Benin Republic by road. Okay. And I remember thinking this experience with immigration and customs is completely, it makes zero sense for considering what African culture is around guests.
It's actually nasty.
It's not hospitable. It's not
like this experience for what is meant to be guests entering or leaving your country is absolutely disgusting. And it's something that we, on the one hand, kind of accept based on like, it's a blip on the radar of your journey. But I wanted to talk about that because you did it across different countries. So I wanted to ask
continents.
Continents. I want to ask like, what were those like, and I want you to like, if you can talk about a few, what was that like? Because again, there's this thing in Africa and West Africa to be specific, where we act like these things are not real problems. It's very upsetting.
We've done the drive to Ghana like 3-4 times, and honestly, it is a travesty. Like for people who are just as in they're like 3-4 countries, we're all packed together. I'm like, this is crazy. This is crazy behavior.
Particularly because technically, there's just very many layers to the madness because it's not just, oh, I'm a guest, I'm a visitor. The whole idea of ECOWAS was that this was supposed to be simpler and easier and we're supposed to treat each other better. And we have a different connection to the rest of, not just even the rest of the world, but the rest of Africa. So the idea really is that West Africa, we're actually a lot more similar than we are different. And so we're together, we have these treaties, we have these passports, we have these agreements that really do say that, we're supposed to treat each other differently. I have a British passport as well. I cannot lie to you, the benefits are plentiful. Like there are places you go and there's just the treatment of assumption. The assumption is that you are innocent until proven guilty. You are a good person. Come here to spend good money. And we're going to treat you as such. And a West African traveling through West Africa, it should say like if you try anyhow, you see anyhow. From jump. But not even in like a funny way. In a threatening way, a lot of the time. Like, I'm going to make your life difficult. I'm going to make you feel miserable through this journey. So I want to just kind of like talk a little bit about what those experiences are. Because that's also not their job.
Yeah.
Like, that's not your work. Your work is not to make me upset.
Your work is actually to check. Just
look at my passport. It's valid. Stamp it. Let me go.
Yeah. That's so I wanted to
So honestly, I always say land border is not for the weak. Like, if you don't have mind, if you don't have stamina, just fly.
Also, if you're impatient,
they
can lock you up.
Do witchcraft, anything
but don't take a land border if you don't have the patience. Like, I've slept in the borders 3 times during this road trip. I literally... I'll give you an example. They won't let me through. Like, literally give you standard example. So, traveling to Europe, stack different. I didn't even know I was crossing borders. So
because you're just like, they have this thing.
Yeah.
Don't just show your passport. They just open the kidney. They're like, this one you want to pass this country. Go.
Like, literally so open. Like, even sometimes until my phone ping, we were roaming from the UK. I was like, welcome to Spain. I'm like, oh, we just got into Spain, like I've left France. So literally that level of openness. And then I got to Morocco. Morocco was a breeze. It wasn't too bad. It's when I really started getting towards East Africa. And the first slam dunk was in Senegal. And then they say you don't have a carnet de passage, which is basically a document that you have to prove that you're planning to take the car back.
Right.
But the thing about me is I'm willing to pay an official fee.
Yeah.
Give me a receipt. But I got there at closing time. Why are these officers going home with this envelope?
Stacked, baby.
Brown. You think a bank just closed, charging €250 for each passenger going by
that doesn't have
this document. But when they say it's open to negotiation, I'm like, okay, let us negotiate then. We went back and forth. Until they just got to a point, it was like, okay, I think I said I had £15, but they had 50. So it was like, okay, we'll do the document for you. When I give them the 15, they're like, no, we wanted 50. I was like, no, you said this is all 15, I have, 15. And that's at that point, that was the first night I had to sleep at the border. So it was like, God. I still want a receipt for this 15 because I don't want to be part of this your thing. Well, whatever it is, I want an official thing. So that was the first time. Then the second time was when
they wouldn't let you through.
They won't let me through. They will let me as a person through, but my
not
car. The car was the issue for the first time. So that's that thing. You have to know the difference between you as a person, like ECOWAS, it does it needs some tweaking in terms of you, but they're always asking for like, okay, I need money, I need you to pay this bribe, basically.
Okay, so, sorry, so this is another thing I mean about, like, let's be thinking, people. So yeah, you get to the land border, and they're like, you can go, but not your car.
What's the point? What's the plan? Okay, so all of us
How is she meant to...
Let all of us get down.
I understand that, but the thing is that we don't officially recognize Juju. So is she meant to levitate? What is the plan?
What's the plan?
They don't think about
that. Should we all... The purpose of a land border is to drive.
Exactly.
I'm not sure how many people are walking into Senegal. Okay, so when all of us get there
we just... they don't think it through.
And get down.
I start trekking.
To Lagos.
You know,
what's the plan?
Like, I got to Senegal. Senegal had the same thing. I told them, they was like, we've banned right-hand vehicle driving.
Who's that?
In Sierra Leone.
They banned it.
They banned it, like right hand. You cannot come with a vehicle.
They banned a type of car that exists in the world.
Like it's been banned. I was like, okay, that is your law. I am not your law. You've stated your law. I read about your law, but there's also something called a bylaw, whereby if a person is transiting, they are allowed to go through.
Okay.
They don't know that bylaw. They only know this law. So I'm like, what do you want me to do? They're like, oh yeah, we have to go back. Go back to where? Go back to where exactly? So it's just having to re-educate the officers and stuff.
Did you show them the bylaw?
No, they didn't do it. Those people that you correct them and they dig down.
Are you telling me
my own job? That kind of thing.
So that's the thing. Being Nigerian, you know what you're serious is. There's a kind of gra-gra that just tells you what's happening.
What's happening?
So it's almost like
half of the gra-gra is honestly the ignorance of I didn't know. And now you're trying to
No, it's not even. I don't think it's that. It's that I have. It's also like a power thing.
It's a power thing. 100%.
I've noticed this as a difference. In any community, environment, society that treats office, and by that I mean people that wear uniform. So you're a firefighter, you're a policeman, you're a traffic warden, you're a soldier, you're in the Navy, you're in the army. The countries or societies that treat those uniforms as people whose your highest calling is to help, and those who treat that uniform as a tool of power, you see the difference completely. So I'm a customs officer, I'm an immigration officer,
and like
I'm
my
here
job
to
is
help.
to enforce problem,
or I'm here as a
god, almost.
Not even a god. As people who understand this as like this uniform is a powerful tool that is at my discretion to use, and those who think that this uniform gives me the power as you know, a representative of the state to help people. The difference is very, very clear.
Yeah.
So, and that difference means that if you get to a country or a state or a city where you are able to converse and you say, oh, but I read this bylaw. The first thing is, let me see.
No.
And then let me make a phone call.
Exactly.
And then they come back to you. The other part is, the thing is that I am the authority. I'm the one that will tell you.
Exactly.
And you always see it differently. So for instance, every time I've asked a police officer, why are you doing this? And I don't shout. Or I say, okay, but you're supposed to be helping me. You can see a second of confusion. Almost like, but no, I'm not. Like, I'm a powerful person in this uniform. What do you
I remember
mean?
when I told one that, you know, you're not actually allowed to get into people's cars. And they were like, what do you mean? And I was like, I can't, as in,
it's what it is.
It's just what it is. You actually, like,
you're not allowed
it's not a thing. You don't have any warrant. You can't actually just open somebody's car and enter. Like, I mean, let's say Kurt was walking now. This is going to be a problem for you. And I was not like, hey.
Yeah.
He said, hey. Are you a lawyer?
No, that's the one they hate the most.
He said, are you a lawyer?
Oh, do you know? I saw a sticker.
I said no. That I'm just. He said, if you're not a lawyer, how do you know?
I saw a sticker recently that explains to you why the Nigerian police they hate lawyers. It says it was at the back, and you can tell it was a lawyer's car, and it says, "I be lawyer, trouble na my work." And I know that there's no officer that is going to see that sticker and stop it. But I feel very strongly about that idea. But like you were saying, Sierra Leone, so what did they now do?
So that was in Liberia, sorry.
Liberia.
So I was there for 2 nights at the border. I had to sleep there for 2 nights.
Sorry, do you know that now that you've said it, even though it's just your experience and mine, I'm now feeling like Liberia is a country that wants to hold people. Because
they're meant to be the freedom country
when I went to Senegal, oh my God, we had to stay in Liberia for 9 hours. I said, God,
free me.
I just said, let me go on a light holiday. Why is Liberia holding me? Okay, so.
All right, Pelumi has to go. So we have come to the end of a fabulous episode.
Thank you so much for
coming.
Thank you so much.
And congratulations and very well done. Very, very, well done.
I think it's amazing.
It's fantastic.
And I look forward to all the other things. I'm sure you still do more.
She will do more. I'm
sure you still do another one. I'm sure. So I look forward to
Where can people find you?
On Instagram, pelumi.nubi, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, long-term form content, Pelumi Nubi _. And if you want to just ask me a question, hello@peluminubi.com.
Great.
Thank you.
Awesome.
All right, guys, you know what to do, all the liking and
everything. We love you. Like, subscribe, please.
Exactly. Thank you. All right, guys.
See
you next week.
See you.
Bye.
Bye.